All right, this book is called Blue, A History of the Color as Deep as the Sea and as Wide as the Sky. And this is written by Nana Ekua, Brew, Hammond. Let's see how beautiful the illustrations are. It's illustrated by Daniel Minter. The color blue is all around us. Have you ever wondered where it comes from? It's in the sky, but you can't touch it. It's in the sea, but when you cup it, it disappears. You can crush iris petals for a brilliant shade, but just add water and away it fades. But then blue appears in the strangest places, discovered through history in unexpected ways. As early as 4500 BC, diggers found blue rocks called lapis lazuli in mines deep below Afghanistan's Sari Sang Valley. Ancient Egyptians used rocks mostly to make jewelry. Some wore them as charms, believing they had the power to protect people from evil. But with time, they found new ways to use this underground find. By 44 BC, many Egyptians, including Queen Cleopatra VII, were applying a bluish mixture around their eyes that looked like eyeshadow, made with ground lapis lazuli grains, plants, and animal fat. More than 600 years later, artists began painting sculptures, walls, and canvases with blue from the crushed rocks, too. It was a royal pain for those who made the paint, and so expensive, only the wealthy could buy it. Since it was a luxury in such high demand, for centuries, scientists, merchants, and dyers looked for more sources of blue. Then on the shores of the Mediterranean, Central America, Mexico, and Japan, dyers found blue in the belly of certain shellfish. A Phoenician myth says a dog discovered the color, finding a snail on the beach. The pup ate it up. The snail turned the dog's tongue purple-blue, and from that moment, a new industry was born. Dyers had different ways of releasing the color. In Mexico, they pressed the snail's foot. In the Middle East, they cracked its shell. Then they waited for the blue to appear. Depending on the snail, the color starts out a milky white or brownish yellow, but once it's in the air and the sun, it quickly turns green, then reddish purple, and with more sunlight, blue. But whether dyers pressed or cracked, snail blue was hard to produce. Each snail released just 1 or 2 drops. Imagine how many snails and drops it took to dye a royal robe, not to mention enough fabric to fill a merchant's shop. Perhaps because blue was the color of the heavens, yet so rare and hard to create on Earth, people around the world considered the color holy. In an old Liberian folktale, blue is explained as a gift that connects gods to humans. In Italy, from the 13th century onwards, some artists began reserving blue to paint the robes of Mary, the mother of Jesus. In Indonesia, some say special prayers to ward off evil spirits before they make the dye. In Israel, blue drapes hung in the temple King Solomon built, and many Jews still wear blue dyed threads called tekele. I might have mispronounced that. So you can see in many different cultures and religions, people value the color blue. For years, snail blue was the most popular color, but all along, there was another way to find blue in nature. In parts of Asia, Africa, the Caribbean, and the Americas, a group of blue plants in the pea family grew. They were called indigo fera. There were a few different ways to get blue from these plants' green leaves. Indian dyers soaked them in water, while West African dyers crushed and dried them. When they added ashes or urine, it enabled the dye to dissolve in water so it could bind to fabric. Since it was cheaper for dyers to produce blue from the indigo plant than from rocks and snails, the shade was just as vibrant and long-lasting, indigo dye. Especially indigo from India and West Africa was eventually valued by most lovers of the color as the best of the blues. India and Nigeria became powerful centers for making and trading indigo. People made clothing, makeup, and medicine with it. Indigo became so precious, people spent it like money. In parts of Africa, some merchants used strips of indigo cloth to buy people and sell them into slavery. In India and Bangladesh, some planters tricked or forced poor farmers to grow indigo plants instead of food. In the United States, some made the African captives they had enslaved from indigo, farm indigo, calling the plant a cash crop because it brought in a lot of money. In this evil side of the trade for blue, leaders and landowners around the world abused or enslaved countless people just so they could grow more indigo. From the time blue was found, scientists worked hard to make a blue that wasn't so difficult or cruel to produce. In 1865, scientist Adolf van Baer began trying, and 40 years later, in 1905, he won the Nobel Peace Prize for creating the Nobel Prize for creating a chemical blue. Finally, everyone, not just the wealthy, could afford something blue. But it was always about more than having a blue outfit, piece of jewelry, or work of art. Because of its scarcity, mystery, and holy associations, blue was more than a color. It was a feeling. We feel blue when we're sad, perhaps because the people who had to dig, grind, and grow passed down their painful memories of working the mines or of slavery on indigo plantations. Africans enslaved in America sang prayers that sounded like tears. The songs were called spirituals, and they inspired a style of music called the blues, originally known for its aching words and melodies. We feel excited when something happens out of the blue, perhaps because the color was once so rare. A discovery that seemed to appear out of thin air, and blue is still considered extraordinary, as it once was the color of royalty. This could be why around the world blue ribbons are pinned for first prize. Today, dyers still use indigo to make blankets and clothing, and some doctors still use it as a natural medicine. Maybe because blue has such a complicated history of pain, wealth, invention, and recovery, it's become a symbol of possibility, as vast and deep as the bluest sea, and as wide open and high as the bluest sky. And that is the history of the color as deep as the sea and as wide as the sky. A lot of things I never knew about the color blue.